Hello, my friends. Sorry, I'm coming at you a day later. I had a feeling it might be Thursday, but I'm glad that you still press play and that you're still here to take some time with me and, I don't know, just think about the things that are going on in the world, because today's show is going to point out quite a few of them. As you can tell, I'm a little tired. I was away from home. I was on a trip, a business trip, a very eye-opening trip, and that's why I'm coming at you a little tired and a little bit late. But good things came out of that for me. If I hadn't been there, I wouldn't have found out some things that I'm going to share with you today. I wouldn't have met some interesting people and made some declarations that I know will come to pass, because if we see the end from the beginning and we declare it, it can be. All right, so anyway, today, I got a crazy show for you, right? 2 huge apocalyptic signs. That's right, big ones. This guy, Matteo Tafuri, he's known as like the Italian Nostradamus. And about 500 years ago, this wise, renowned philosopher, he had written in his diary, and it was recently found. And needless to say, he said something would happen in a small little town in Italy, and that if it happened, it would begin the apocalypse. Whoa! Guess what? It just happened. That follows on the heels of another apocalyptic sign that, thousands are now flocking to see this great icon of religious history weep tears of myrrh. We're going to get into that today. But we're not just going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the incredibly controversial new upgrade that the D-Wave computer has just gotten. As if the world is not kooky enough, we now have the quantum computing capacity of like 1 billion times that we had just the first time I did a video on this. Spooky stuff. Not to mention our president-elect. There's a huge scandal that is brewing, and it's about to blow up. Whether it's true or not, that will be revealed. But it is now making the headlines, and we're going to talk about that. The days that we are in. The days that we're in, people. It's, this is just, it's beyond me. Is the apocalypse nigh? I guess we're going to find that out today. But I don't think this apocalypse that everyone is worried about is the end of the literal world, if you will. I believe that it is the beginning of a new day. And that's why I'm also excited. And I want you all to be excited and never let fear motivate you, because today I'm going to open your eyes to some crazy stuff. New nanotechnology that is going to be used on crops. Buckle up, people, because today's show is about the apocalypse. I want to talk about that word apocalypse for a second, okay? A lot of people they get very scared when they hear that word. And they think of they think of the world blowing up and everything else. Well, the word apocalypse literally means unveiling. It's like a revelation, if you will. Consider that there's a big blanket. I wish I had a blanket. Consider there's a blanket over. Okay, I'm going to get a blanket. Okay, I got a blanket. All right, so you want to see what the apocalypse is? Okay, you walk into a room and you see this. All right? Hey, it's Jacob the whole time. That's the apocalypse, okay? It's basically an uncovering. And I think that's a good thing. So if the apocalypse is nigh, if you will, then I say bring it, people, because it's time for us to wake up. Don't you want to know more? Aren't you tired of living the way you are? Aren't you tired of being scared? Aren't you tired of feeling unfulfilled? I think that these signs in Italy, I'm going to read this right now, I think it's a good thing. All right, so let's get into it. So 2 consecutive days of crazy snow blanketed a European town, and it has sparked warnings of the end of the world, following an apocalyptic prophecy from the Italian Nostradamus himself, Matteo Tafuri. Okay, so basically this guy lived between 1492, 1592. 1492 and 1582. He warned centuries ago that there would be 2 days of consecutive snow in a resort town of Salento, which would lead to the apocalypse. Armageddon, if you will. Whatever you want to call it. But he basically said that this would happen. And guess what? It just happened. So the Italian Nostradamus said, Salento of palm trees and a mile to south the wind, snowy Salento, but never after the touch. 2 days of snow in the resort town of Salento would lead to Armageddon. All right, that's terrible Italian accent. I'm Italian, so, I don't need to have the accent. I got the big nose, right? So that works. So basically, he said that there'd be 2 days of this consecutive terrible snow and it would lead to Armageddon. Okay. The diary was hidden in his room, and it was only discovered by researchers recently when they uncovered this ominous warning, and then boom, it happens. Freaky, right? Well, what's weirder is that just like a couple of days earlier, that snow blanketed the ground, there was tears that have been spotted emerging from the eyes of a painting of the Virgin Mary in Macedonia. It's been linked, once again, go figure, to the end of the world. Okay? So worshippers spotted the teardrops and they pointed them out to their priest, who contacted the Macedonian Orthodox Church officials, asking them to confirm it as a miracle. So basically, this painting of the Virgin Mary, it's an icon, it's a very famous icon in this area. It started to weep. Okay? Weep, which they think signals the end. And when Father Boban took some wool to wipe it, he wiped it and he smelled it. He said that it smelled of holy myrrh. Now, whether it's a publicity stunt, whether it's just, the roof is leaking and it got in behind the painting, I don't know. But it is kind of interesting, don't you think? That you have these two apocalyptic signs happening, one after the other. I'm excited because it's about time for some things to change. And I hope you are too. But that's not it. There's more. Okay, so basically, these two stars are going to collide, or they have collided, or I don't know exactly. But I do know that they're saying that in just a couple of years, there's going to be this Star of Bethlehem moment. Once again, signaling the return of Christ. That's what they say. I'm not saying it. Don't say anything in the comments, okay? That's what's being reported. So we have all of these things coming together. I find it fascinating. But you know what else I find fascinating? I did a video on, on basically biotech companies and pesticides and all of this stuff that they're putting on our crops that makes its way into our food, and how the GMOs, instead of being labeled, which would have been a simple thing, Obama signed this law to basically keep states from, advertising. So when you go into the store and you want to buy some food, you can't just look at the box and it says made with GMOs or non-GMO product. Very simple, a little stamp, right? No, because they don't want that. They don't want the consumer to know that they're consuming possibly poison. So what are they doing? They're going to have this little barcode, right? Take a look at that. So Obama signed off on this little barcode. Now, why would they do that? Well, because the amount of pesticides that are used to harvest our foods it's disgusting. GMOs is an absolute nightmare. That's why I try to eat as healthy and as clean as possible. I suggest you all do it, but it's really expensive and it's very hard to do. So just a day or two ago, there was a breakthrough. And I want to talk about that, okay? A research leader, Professor Nina Mitter, said bioclay. It's called bioclay, right? It's an environmentally sustainable alternative to chemicals and pesticides, and it could be a game changer for crop protection. I think it sounds great so far, right? Okay? And it basically tricks the plant into thinking that it's being attacked so that the plant then reacts and, produces its own pesticides and everything else. But let me read this, okay? Professor Mitter said that the technology reduced the use of pesticides without altering the genome of the plant. Once bioclay is applied, the plant thinks it's being attacked by a disease or pest, an insect, and it responds by protecting itself from the targeted pest or disease. A single spray of bioclay protects the plant and then degrades. Okay? So it reduces the risk of environmental poisoning or a risk to human health. Said the bioclay met consumer demands for sustainable crop protection and is residue-free. Okay, they say it's the cleaner approach and it will add value to the food and agribusiness technology industry, contributing to a global food security and to a cleaner, greener world. That's a wonderful thing. Nanotechnology. Professors Xing Yu said bioclay combined nanotechnology and biotechnology and is going to be revolutionary. So sounds incredibly hopeful. I sure do hope that there is an alternative to pesticides because, there's a reason that, we see Alzheimer's going through the roof. We see cancer going through the roof, ADHD, autism. So many diseases today are just out of control, and I believe a lot of it is linked to all that nonsense they're putting all over the crops and all that nonsense they're injecting into all of our food. That's why I don't drink cow milk anymore, because I'm not a cow, right? And I don't eat all of those steroids and antibiotics and just the stuff that they do. Listen, I'm not telling you got to stop drinking milk. I drank milk for years. I do believe that the reason I lost so much weight was because I cut it out of my diet. Just saying. I was 250 pounds. Now I'm 190 at my fighting weight. I think almond milk had a lot to do with that. But I got a little sidetracked, right? And I just missed my almond milk. I got to go have some. Let's talk about the D-Wave computer, huh? All right. Now, you know that I am Mr. Mandela Effect. When I first started reporting on the Mandela Effect, I said, I don't know. It may not be happening, but I am 100% sold out to the belief that it is. Whether we're in a parallel universe, whether reality has changed, whether God himself is just changing things around to get us to wake up and pay attention, or whether we are in some kind of simulation and the code is being changed and some of us, like Neo, aren't being updated with the changes and we're waking up. I don't know. But I do know that it makes no sense. I've had a miraculous life, my whole life. I have done really amazing things, not of my own will, of course, but just because I knew that it would happen, just like me talking to you. And as this audience grows, and I'm so grateful for it, and please do subscribe if you haven't, because it's just amazing to me how we all can connect and share on a level and realize that we aren't alone anymore and that we don't need to feel embarrassed that something isn't quite right with the world. And I believe that we're the change for it. I believe that we are the linchpin. I think that we are the key to opening up a new world that's been waiting within us all. A heaven on earth, if you will. And I think that together we can make that happen. Whether or not there are people that are in control that are trying to make that happen now in a sinister way, because we all know about the Illuminati, they're tampering, man. This stuff with the D-Wave computer, it's spooky. If you don't know anything about the D-Wave computer, go back, watch a video I've done on it about CERN and the Mandela Effect and D-Wave. Just Google, YouTube, Jacob Israel, D-Wave, and watch the video on it because, this is like this quantum computer, they don't even know how it works, right? It even looks like the big black box of Satan. Saturn, excuse me. Same thing, right? It's spooky, man. And now they just gave it a whopping upgrade. We're talking, it's the company's most advanced quantum computer, now featuring a 2000-bit qubit processor, doubling its capacity from the previous D-Wave model, which is currently deployed, by the way, by Google and NASA, Lockheed Martin, and now going over to England. The D-Wave modestly admitted that this gives it a firm, serious march on others in the field. We're talking like 1 billion times more powerful than it was before, okay? So the question becomes, right, because this is the big question, okay, so 100 billion times more powerful, to be precise, which gives the rise to the question, I didn't write this, all right? So don't comment saying, why are you getting all fear tactics, Jacob? I'm not. If it's that smart, how come it isn't sentient and on a rampage to wipe out mankind? Who's saying it's not sentient? They're not saying it's not sentient. They just kind of gloss over the thing. Something that is incredibly, incredibly fast, smarter than any one of us, faster than any computer anywhere. They don't even know how it operates. They say that it actually operates in parallel universes by communicating with alternate versions of itself. It's science fiction, right? Actually, it's science fact. Could this have something to do with the Mandela effect and these little changes? Is it kind of just making these little changes? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It's fun to think about, but it's kind of spooky that they are giving it this much power. I don't know. I say unplug the thing. I really do. I don't even. When you have bright minds like Stephen Hawking's and others saying that it's not a good idea, I say unplug the thing. What do the guys say about? I remember back in the war games with Matthew Broderick. What did the general say? I'm gonna go pee-pee on it. I'm gonna go pee-pee on the cord. Unplug it. Can't really unplug something like that once it's plugged in, I guess. But anyway, just another thing for us to say, wow, right? The day we're living in. Okay, let's talk Trump. An explosive 35-page memo on Donald Trump's relationship with Russia, which contains unverified allegations to which Trump called a complete fabrication today. All right, so basically this report that was collected by an MI6 operative, the guys that are, British intelligence officer, okay? His name's Christopher David Steele. That's the guy that did this, right? So he compiled this 35-page dossier. He was actually hired to do it, by the Republican Party, it says, and then, the Democratic Party then bought it, whatever. It doesn't matter how this came to be, but basically, this memo, which was reduced to 2 pages, which has now been handed over to the FBI and the CIA, there's some claims in it that are really spooky. One of the claims is that Trump and Russia have had an 8-year information swapping relationship. Another claim is that the Kremlin has spooky, compromising material to blackmail Trump with, which means that if he gets into office, Trump doesn't want this stuff released, he may do things that are not in the nation's best interest and in Russia's best interest. Whether that's true or not, once again, unverified. And who knows what to believe today. People, listen, I am not coming against Trump. Listen, I'm not coming against anybody. I don't trust anybody in control. I trust the power that is in us all. I trust God. That's where I put my trust. But you put your trust where you want. But the bottom line is we don't know for sure if there is something for us to really worry about here. But we do know that it says that Trump has a tendency. I like to keep the show family friendly. Google it. Some really ugly acts that he supposedly paid prostitutes to perform and that he watched. and that he disliked the Obamas so much, he had them do this on the bed knowing the Obamas would be there the next night. I don't even like talking about that stuff because I tell you, the world has gotten so, it just seems so, corrupt, and so vile and just bankrupt. Morally, it seems that little by little, the media is making everything seem so acceptable. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but let me get the last of this out of the way. Another claim was that Trump paid large bribes to China and Russia for a business interest that he had overseas. Another one was that he purposely drew attention away from the Ukraine so that they would hack the DNC. Another one was that he paid hackers to hack the DNC. And of course, the worst of which was about paying the prostitutes to urinate in front of him. All these, by the way, Trump denies. Nothing's been verified, and yet CNN and BuzzFeed, they've really blasted and they've put it out. It's out there now. So, I guess you can say whatever you want about anybody. People do it in the comment section about me all the time, right? I'm not in the Illuminati, people, okay? I have a day job. I work like 45 hours a week. I just get by with 4 kids. I'm not a multimillionaire because of YouTube, okay? So whatever you guys think, I'm not there yet. I wouldn't mind being there. So tell a friend about the channel. Anyway, long story short, I really wanted to talk about just the how I see everything becoming more and more bankrupt. Because I love entertainment. I love the media. I love movies. I love reading. I love watching TV. I love shows with my wife. We're excited because there's a great show called This Is Us, and it's back on. And I DVR'd it when I was away, and tonight we're gonna watch it with some gluten-free cookies and some almond milk. I'm fired up. Can't wait to hang out with the Dan. Haven't seen her in a couple of days because I love her so much. It's my kids too. I'm back, right? I'm happy to be home. No place like home. There's no place like home, right? Remember that movie, The Wizard of Oz? How wonderful that was? It gives you a good feeling, right? And it was a great lesson that was learned. Well, guess what? There's a new show called Emerald City, which I don't know if you've seen it, but I did. And I turned it off. Well, instead of the innocent Dorothy, we have a pill-popping, drug-addicted, Percocet-addicted, Dorothy, who is all messed up. And we get to Emerald City, and we find out that this is a vile place, and that the witches are, there's orgies, and people are smoking opium and doing heroin, and and witchcraft is everywhere, and they perform these rituals, and it's just perverse, and it's disturbing. And look, if you're an adult, and I love sci-fi, I don't mind watching stuff like that. I find it very interesting. But, there are children that may think that that's a show that they can watch, and there are parents that may be foolish enough to say, oh, Emerald City's on, check it out, and walk away and let them watch this. Just like this other show that I stumbled upon called The Mick. I don't know if you've heard of it. And I guess it's supposed to be this raunchy thing, but it was on prime time, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and that's when, young kids watch TV. Well, this episode that I just saw had the 17-year-old girl, and the whole episode surrounded, was revolved around the fact that she was just having sex, loud sex, all over the house with this guy who had his shirt off on a regular basis. And as she was having sex, and you can hear the sounds of the 17-year-old having sex with an older man while her aunt's watching, the aunt's downstairs with, her boyfriend and a young 6-year-old kid and another, 10-year-old kid. And they're going, oh man. And they're making it like it's a normal thing, And the whole episode was about how I don't want to have protected sex. I want to have unprotected sex because there's so many drugs in this, and it's bad for your body, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that. And I can't help but think that all this predictive programming is coming to it's coming to a close. They're not holding anything back anymore. every type of sexual relationship is now being aired on every single major TV show. I mean, if you think it's okay for your child to watch like a superhero show, you're going to find that it may not be okay, because they're touching on sexual themes that are just way far too advanced for your children. And the executives, they know this. But you know what? It's the day that we're in. The day that we're in is just, it's not the day that I want to see for my children anymore. I want to see us all do something to make this world a better place. You're not going to find happiness by, just doing a ton of drugs and by partying like, you see on all of these shows. You're not going to find happiness, focusing 100% on looks and attention and selfies and social media. You're not going to find peace and purpose by doing what everybody else is doing. It's just not found there. You can't find happiness by just giving yourself away in a sexual way on a regular basis. There's something to be said about monogamy. There's something to be said about a lifelong relationship with someone that you love and adore. There's something to be said about not giving up on your spouse, not giving up on that relationship, just because it seems like today, it's a disposable generation. Everybody wants it easy and everybody wants it quick. Everybody wants their happy meal, They want their cake and they want to eat it too. And, if they got to work to unpackage that cake, they're going to move on to the next one. Thank God that I'm not that man. And thank God that my wife is not that wife. And I got to tell you something. Marriage isn't easy, but it sure is worth it. Putting your effort back into your relationships, putting your effort back into your family, being a stable environment for your kids. I know that things are hard. I know that the world gets out of control, and I know you want to put your focus elsewhere, and you don't want to deal with everything after a long day at work and your kids are screaming and your kids are acting out, and you just want to scream at them and you just want to give up, and you're tired of having to deal with the nagging this and the nagging that. But I'm telling you, if you put your focus and your faith where it needs to be, if you start to focus on love unconditionally, you're going to find your whole world change. Is the apocalypse nigh? I'm not going to lie. It is. And that's why now, more than ever before, I am excited, because that unveiling is taking place. Our eyes, we're wiping away the sleep for our eyes, and we're waking up. And we're realizing that this world does not offer the peace that we crave. You can't find it by making more money. You can't find it by dedicating everything to that new corporation. You can't find it by buying that new car. You can't find it by just making a new relationship with another person. You can't find it by having sex with anybody you want and living free. You can't find it by taking drugs. You can't find it by drinking. You can't find it by just saying, I'm going to live for me, forget about everybody else and responsibility. You can only find peace by loving unconditionally. And that means putting others before yourself. I'm telling you, if you roll it back and you take a step back, and when people act out and when people say mean things to you, and you realize that it's not your problem, it's their problem. And you realize that you don't have to take that. You can let that bounce right off you. I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever they say bounces off of me and sticks to them too, When you realize that, you can enter that new day. Because there's only one way to do it. There's only one way to change this world. There's only one way to have peace and happiness. And that is by loving unconditionally and by having faith. And don't you let fear get the best of you. I don't care about all these crazy things that I talk about. These are things to be excited about, people. Because when the world gets crazy and kooky, it's like those birth pangs, right? One after the other they come. Now they're coming a little more frequently, right? And then all of a sudden, you got to give birth to that kid. and you want to give up, and you're like, I don't want to give birth. Oh my God, I feel like I'm going to die. But the instant that you let go, you're going to bring new life into this world. And that life is going to change the world for everybody else. So let's come together and let's do it together, because I love you all and you all are a part of me and I'm a part of you, because we are all one. And I love you all, and I thank you for watching today's program, and I will see you next time, same channel. I love you. Bye-bye.